Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new IDLES album, Ultra Mono. IDLES are a UK-based punk band who, for the last couple of years, have been on one hell of a tear. Their 2017 debut, Brutalism, was the shot of adrenaline in punk rock that I needed at the time. It was nasty, it was gnarly, filled with muscular riffs, explosive choruses, plus they weren't really holding back any punches. Not only that, but it was super sharp, it was really well written, it was very current as well. I liked it so much that I honestly figured that I wasn't going to enjoy their follow-up album that much, their Joy as an Act of Resistance album, but I ended up loving it even more. It is one of the most fired up and pulverizing punk albums, especially of that year, and one of my favorites of like the last 5. Now, these new singles have been much grimier, uglier, more disgusting sounding, a little bit more post-hardcore and post-punk oriented. Let's chat about this new album. This album starts off with War, and my god, I just feel like IDLES always just show up when they're needed the most. This is an aggressive, throttling start. Instantly, IDLES are not holding any punches. Now, IDLES are no strangers to facing some pretty tough to digest issues and facing them head on. Here's no different. I mean, this track is just so sweaty and throttling, and between the noisy guitar tones and these simple yet very effective lyrics, this is a great start. As a single, nothing quite pumped me up for the rest of this album as Mr. Motivator did. I actually think it's the best track here. This is IDLES at their best. It's not flashy. It's not gaudy. This just sounds like the blast of aggression and raw anger that I fell in love with years ago. But if you ask me, honestly, they sound like they're just getting more fiercer. And especially more fearless. Like, yeah, they've been dealing with political issues since their debut album, but I would argue that it's never been as obvious as this. And for now, honestly, I love this track. It's easily the catchiest one here as well. Anxiety, on the other hand, is just such a raw, aggressive sounding track. It sounds like it was taken in one glorious take. It's not perfect, and it's not meant to be. It also has a very DIY feel to it, very early 80s. But on Anxiety, IDLES take it a step back and bring things down to a more personal level. It's something that they do later on in the album too, and honestly here it sounds great. Ne touche pas moi also, honestly, one of my favorite deep cuts here. This track excites me more than most of the album. It is one of the most wild, direct, and true to form tracks on this entire album. Like this here, in a nutshell, is the sound that I wish they went with for this entire record. It's anxious, it's paranoid, but it also packs one of the best lyrical punches of this entire album. Not to mention Jenny Beth from Savages featuring on this track, kind of repaying the favor after Joe Talbot landed a guest spot on her debut album earlier this year. Really exciting times. Awesome track, great message. I'm all for this. Disappointingly though, I think overall, this is by far IDLES' most inconsistent album. Ever since the Grounds track has dropped a couple of weeks ago, honestly, I haven't been into it. As a matter of fact, I've been avoiding it. Look, I like a little messiness in my punk, a little rawness. That's always going to be welcome. But this is quite frankly one of the ugliest tracks I've heard all year. Lyrically, it's still poignant, right on point, super effective. But everything else about this track completely lacks in comparison to some of the earlier work in IDLES' catalog. Simply put, they've said a lot more with a lot less and made it sound a whole lot better. I'll be honest, Kill Them With Kindness is my least favorite track here. I hear tracks like this, and I worry about the future of IDLES. Look, I'm all for a band branching out, that's life. But this track is so stiff and ugly. It's not even stiff in a sort of tense post-punk kind of way. No, this is just ugly sounding. I'm not too crazy about Model Village either. It's fine. It sounds certainly like an IDLES track, from a distance. Upon closer inspection, I would say that all this came to IDLES a whole lot easier in the past. But that production, man, once again, it's just not up to snuff. I don't need a crystal clear, pristine punk rock album. That's the last thing I want these days. But this is just laughable compared to their last 2 albums. The clunkier side of IDLES continues to have me up in arms with Reigns. Look, this track is just as much of a statement as any other track here. Let's be clear about that. But does it have to sound like this track was recorded on a potato? I mean, in some of the later moments here, it's not that bad. That chorus is just fine, but overall, this is just not up to snuff. And a hymn, once again, not really that into it. Haven't been since it was dropped. Times like this make me worry that IDLES have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew. Why does this track stick out so much on this album? Why is it so boring? But some of the late tracks here do end up saving this album for me. Take, for example, Carcinogenic. This is a great deep cut. This track has a sort of post-punk edge to it, and I love the call and return vocals here. It's honestly one of the most hypnotic performances of the entire album. Plus, you have to give IDLES credit. They do not let up. Their determination is top-notch. And The Lover is absolutely nothing short of raw power. This isn't the most hectic or pummeling track here, but it doesn't really need to be. It's sleek, it's dangerous, and the result is so much more punchy. IDLES sound so much more focused here, and the production on this track is way more up to snuff. It's a great example of, like I said earlier, IDLES doing a lot more with a lot less. And Danke, as a finale, is a great track. For a more post-punk rigid sound, this is one of the best sounds here. It's got a tight groove and this noisy riff. It's very chaotic, and maybe I'm missing something, but I haven't heard this on most of this album. And the best part about this track is it's not rushed. IDLES really sit with it, let it cook, and the result is one of the most memorable tracks here. So you know what, Ultra Mono isn't a bad punk album to any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, when they're on, IDLES are probably the most important punk band in the world right now, and still writing some of the most crushing, in-your-face tunes today. But the production and choices on some of this album just cannot be overlooked. Still though, if you're a punk fan, you're going to want to hear this. I'm feeling a light 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.